Hello everybody and welcome back. And in last week's video we saw the fourth and fifth instance where the Israelites had tested God's patience once again after they saw and gained the blessing from God of the Lord and showed their unfaithful actions towards God once again. We saw once they camped at the desert of Sin, they were really worried about food as they were not given enough food to survive in the desert of Sin. So God provided them manna and also meat. But the instructions God gave about the manna is that for the first 5 days that they were meant to collect the manna according to what God says. And the fifth incident where they disobeyed God was when they said on the seventh day, for only the seventh day, you have to collect twice as much on the sixth day as it's the Holy Sabbath day of connection towards God. And we see that in both instructions that the Israelites failed and tested God once again. But today that we're going to see the sixth incident where the Israelites have tested God once again. So we're going to have to read this from Exodus 17th chapter, verse 1 to 2. So let's read it now. And it says, all the congregation of the people of Israel moved on from the wilderness of Sin by stages, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped at the Rephidim. But there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people quarreled with Moses and said, give us water to drink. And Moses said to them, why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord? Again, they quarreled with Moses in a difficult situation, despite knowing that God is leading them, but they don't want to show their faith or connect with God in difficult times. Every time they acted towards their fleshly needs, and they never showed their trust towards God, and immediately jumped towards Moses to ask for the moaning, and they start to quarrel with him once again just because they can't get that water, and they don't understand what God has already given them, the brilliant miracles they've been able to see by their own eyes, even something these are people now like me and all of you have not seen, but they still can't believe it. And they followed their fleshly mindset. So now let's read the third verse as well. So it says, but the people thirsted for water, and the people grumbled against Moses and said, why did you bring us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst? This time they showed their anger to another level and even tried to stone Moses. They were almost ready. Why am I to do with your people? And they were already ready to stone Moses. And we can see that in the fourth verse where he says, so Moses cried to Lord, what shall I do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me. We see here in the fourth verse, they say they're ready to that extent. And they keep, and like when Egyptians were following them to the sea, where Moses splits the sea, we understand that the Israelites had lost hope already at that point when the Egyptians started chasing down with millions, so many chariots. They started to lose hope, and once again they've showed that fleshly mindset of the situation to go against God, and they've now already been ready to throw stones. They've already showed their anger to another level. Now let's read fifth to seventh verse. And the Lord said to Moses, pass on before the people, taking with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff which you struck with the Nile, and go, behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and the water shall come out of it, and the people will drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah. So he calls the place Massah and Meribah because of the quarreling of the people of Israel, and because they tested the Lord by saying, is the Lord among us or not? They asked these questions. So what we understand from the fifth to seventh verses, that again God shows their love towards the Israelites, but they're still unfaithful and test God by quarreling. But God provides the solution toward the Israelites by saying Moses to use the staff that he used to turn the river Nile from water to blood, and to hit it onto the rock at Horeb, which they traveled from the desert of Sin, and the water shall come from it. And we see that once Moses does this in front of the elders of Israel, like instruction, he calls the place Massah and Meribah because of what the Israelites tested and quarreled against God. So that's all for today. Now let's go through what we did today. So today we first understood about the Israelites. They quarreled once again towards Moses And we understand it's specifically Moses and not towards God. And they start quarreling to Moses that they don't have any water, they have nothing to survive with. Only the food is not enough for them to survive. And despite knowing that God is there, as after showing the miracles, their fleshly mindset is going towards Moses and seeing Moses and showing their ways towards Moses, as rather they have no connection towards God to pray to God or ask God. All they show is towards Moses, despite knowing God is there. And Moses even asking the questions, why do you test me or ask me, he says again. So we understand. And why do you quarrel with me, he says, or why do you put God to the test? And then we see the Israelites go to the next extent to say that like they said when they lost hope and the Egyptians started following them, they said that why do you make us our livestock and our children and our lives at risk just because you haven't given any water towards us? And they go to the extent of trying to kill Moses with stones, with the anger they had, because now they're going to die as they had lost hope once again due to the situation, despite knowing what God has done already, because the fleshly mindset has already done their mind in. So to think that the hope is lost. But then once again we see God provides them the solution again by making Moses use the staff that he used to turn the sea into water, from water to blood, we understand. And once he turns it into blood, we see that Moses hits with the staff from then onto the rock in front of the elders, and we understand the water comes out. And finally we understood that Moses called the place Massah and Meribah, since this is because they tested and quarreled against God. So that's all for today. See you next time. Bye.